has quite
Uh-huh.
improved. Hello.
I wonder if because it looks like me talking looks quite quiet, but you talking looks not so quiet.
Yeah, agreed.
See,
It sounds as though your headset's gone back to normal volume, Jay. Like, you used to have it quite far away from your face.
I guess
I
so.
would say it doesn't need to be as far now, is what I would say.
All right, let's
Please
try
no.
that.
Yeah, that sounds good. You don't have to breathe into it, but that sounds good.
All right,
Yeah.
I just had to make sure because when I do that.
Oh, please don't. Please don't do that.
See, I
It's
don't know
going
how
up.
long we've been going for. Oh no, it's in top left. Okay, that's fine.
40 seconds. Yeah.
I figured it out. I will say your bitrate is nasty on my end, but I'm not really sure if that's all right on your end or what.
It seems all right on my end, but I don't know if it's me or you.
I don't know because I'm really small on the top right, but you're really big in the middle.
Yeah, it's opposite for me.
For you.
For
How do
you.
I look? Do I look bitrate hell or what?
You've gotten a little bit better now. I'll shut down some of my other tabs. That'll help, no doubt. So, guys, here's the situation. We've had to swap platforms due to the inevitable catch-up of technology. So bear with us as we transition. I'm working on a permanent fix, but unless you want to donate $3,000 for the show, that permanent fix isn't going to come anytime soon. So
I have a feeling I'm
I'll
going to
work
be
on it.
really quiet.
I mean, you look okay. Should I
'Cause,
tone
I mean,
myself down?
the-
Would you like me to
I
turn
mean, no,
down?
it's just that the thing is, the needle isn't moving much,
Well, I can hear you pretty well.
when I talk. All right, well, we'll see what it's like.
I would just say it looks around the same sort of level as my little thing, going up and
Okay.
down. So
Oh, it could be just because that maybe I'm like me, like the thing doesn't look like it's as much, but yours looks like it's like going up and down, up and down.
well,
so-
I'll speak a bit further away. How about that?
Well, I don't know whether it's good or a bad thing. We'll find out once we watch it back, I imagine.
Sure. So yeah,
I
bear
can't
with
tell
us.
if the recording of your bitrate is just going to be really bad, like, because you look like I can barely even recognize you.
Oh, right, okay. Oh,
I'm not
hold
sure.
on. This blanket is trapped under all sorts. Right. Okay. Well, your bitrate doesn't look that bad to me.
All right, well, we'll see what happens, I guess.
I'm sort of hoping it's all in the cloud, really. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, let me get
Shall we begin?
Yeah.
Are you there?
Yeah, bear with us. God, you can't even see me, can you? Can you see me?
I mean, yeah, I can see you. It's just
Okay.
you seem to be stressing over there.
Yeah, I am. Yeah. Okay, so just bear with us as we try and transition to what we used to do. But anyway, do you like my top, Jay?
Yeah, I do. If I could see it nicely, I think I'd appreciate it more.
Oh, right, yeah. Never mind. Okay.
You're a bit of
Right.
you look like I'm not wearing my glasses, let's just say that.
Very good. Very good. Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound great.
Cool. Let's crack on then. We've got so much to talk about this week. We might as well
Lots,
just get
yeah.
right into it. So, technology issues aside, Jay,
Yeah.
what do you think is the first thing we're going to do?
Marvel question.
Correct. Who does Spider-Man take the nano gauntlet from when they get into trouble in the final battle of Avengers Endgame? Captain Marvel, Scarlet Witch, Black Panther, or Hawkeye?
Jesus, I want to say Hawkeye,
Final answer?
just because that's what I remember. But go on then, yeah.
Black Panther.
Yeah. I've seen that movie once, whereas most of the other movies I've seen multiple times.
That was
I
well
saw
worth
that
watching again,
movie-
Jay.
What, December 2019?
When it came out?
Yeah, roughly.
Sure.
I think that's when it came out. I know it was 2019, but I can't remember the month.
Sure.
Yeah.
I still regard it as the biggest movie ever, even with Avatar. I would say the cultural impact of that film is significant compared to Avatar, personally.
Yeah, they just made it official in the comics as well.
Made what official, sorry?
Getting rid of Captain America and replacing him as the leader of the Avengers and replacing him with Captain Marvel.
Oh, good. Oh, goody.
Gotta love it.
Gotta love it.
The
Gotta
death
love
of
it.
modern comics as we know it.
Jay, for the sake of energy, would you mind if I rammed in a new little segment before we actually go on to the main show? Because I don't want to keep my Xbox on for 2 hours just to wait for the segment.
Okay.
So I've got a name for it, Jay. Okay. It's pretty bad. It's just called Achievement Archive.
Okay, that's AA, I guess.
Sure. AA. Call up the AA.
Double A.
So I'm going to pick 3 random games from the history of your
Oh, this
achievements,
thing. Okay.
and then you're just going to give me a little bit of background if you remember it, if you don't remember it, blah, blah, blah. We did this before, and I quite liked it, so I want to keep doing it. So
Okay.
I think we sort of touched on Pimp My Ride, which is cool.
Yeah.
And also the order is all messed up because I have to compare games, so it's not necessarily the order you did play them in.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
I want to talk about Jay, and we talked about Legendary as well.
Mm.
I want to talk about yours and mine history with Saints Row 1.
Okay.
What's your
One
memories of Saints Row
specifically.
1?
I mean, not much other than that I just played it. I mean, it's funny. Like Saints Row is basically. I mean, it was like knockoff GTA, right?
Sure.
It was sort of. It's weirdly, it was like more adult, but like in a sort of sillier way.
That's something. Right. Sorry
Try
about
again.
Try again. Right. You were saying about Saints Row.
Yeah, it just sort of felt like. I mean, it's weird. Even when I was playing it back in the day, I didn't think to myself, "Oh, this is basically GTA," because GTA was like a different thing, right?
So I did. That's all I thought. That's all I thought
Okay,
at the
yeah, I
time.
guess so. I just thought it was like a really almost like a robot chicken. Like it was very like slapsticky GTA.
Sure.
I don't know.
Do
I
you
don't
have fond
really.
memories of it? Because I tie it with the launch of the 360 a little, you know?
Yeah, I guess so. I look back at it and go, "Oh, I'm glad I don't play that anymore."
Or because it's had its time, like Halo.
It died. Yeah, I mean, even when they tried to reboot it recently, I mean, it's dead. It's gone.
Sure.
That thing should have been left in the past. 100%.
So you never think back and think, oh, I had good times playing it. It was what it was. A bit of fun, a bit of this, a
It
bit of
was
that.
almost like Destroy All Humans. It sort of gave me that sort of vibe.
Yeah, interesting. Because
It just sort of didn't really take itself seriously.
I look back on Saints Row with quite some fondness in terms of it reminds me of Xbox, right? Because it was an Xbox exclusive, so
Mm.
it had that going for it. I do remember the achievements, which, as we can see here, the game itself, I believe, was actually really hard because everybody used cheats to play it, and that voided the achievements.
Yeah,
And
sure,
I
sure,
think we
sure.
did that because I've got 60G, you've got 50G, but the actual game I think was really hard, or at least quite difficult. It was at the time, so that's something. Now, the other game I want to ask you about, Jay, Left 4 Dead 1.
Okay.
I'm not really a big Left 4 Dead fan, so do you love this game? Do you miss it?
I like it more than Saints Row.
Do you, I mean, are you a big fan of Left 4 Dead?
Yeah, I think it's like kind of like a cult classic at this point.
Sure.
Yeah, it's sort of like it's funny. Left 4 Dead actually has more players, more concurrent players on Steam than Back 4 Blood does.
That's crazy.
And Left 4 Dead's a 15-year-old game at this point.
It feels like a game that knew exactly what it wanted to do and did it very well.
Yeah, no, it's pretty simple, really, isn't it? I think you get that with a lot of games nowadays. You look back at some of these old games and go, "Oh, it's so simple." Like
Sure.
I feel like a lot of game makers, developers try to overcomplicate things nowadays, and that's kind of like too many cooks almost,
Yeah, sure.
but too many features.
And I think as well with Left 4 Dead, it's. I always look at those games thinking like, if you liked it, why wouldn't you just go for like the full 1000G sort of thing? Because it all looked quite possible, I suppose.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
I'm sad that I missed that period of when everyone was playing Left 4 Dead 1 and 2
Oh,
because
you missed it?
well, I didn't. Yeah, I never played them,
Oh, okay.
never owned them, and I feel like that's a period of time or an era where a lot of our friends were genuinely playing those games quite a lot.
Yeah, I feel like I played it a lot, and that's kind of why the Back 4 Blood when it came out, I was excited about that. But it just
Sure,
didn't. It didn't really. I don't know. Didn't really hit the same mark. I don't think. Again, it's
sure,
one of those sort of bygone eras now where you can't necessarily. I mean, you can kind of. I've had, it's funny because because Redfalls is coming out, and that's obviously almost like a vampire sort of open world version of it,
sure.
and that looks a hell of a lot more fun to me than what Left 4 Dead did. So have to wait
Do
and
you
see.
miss Left 4 Dead? Do you want that Left 4 Dead 3?
No. Well, I don't know. They'd have to do something different. They'd have to do something with it.
Sure.
I'm not sure what that is. But I mean, that's how most things are made, isn't it? It's just taking something that's already been done and changing it very slightly.
And last
So.
one, Jay. I'm hoping I'm going to remember these, by the way, because I'm not writing them down. Call of Juarez.
Yeah, I remember that.
You remember this game?
I remember that somewhat fondly, but I remember it just being annoyed at the fact I couldn't do this one bit of it. I just got stuck, and I was like, "Yeah, okay, I'm done."
Yeah, I think I hit exactly the same thing. You got further than me, but
Did
that
I?
was one of
Okay.
those games where like I think the front cover looked really cool, the back looked really cool, and then you
Yeah, I
played the
think
game and it was a bit like
I
okay.
was coming off of having played Gun. I'm not sure if Red Dead 1 had been out yet.
I don't think so.
So yeah, I
Could
think
be.
I'd played Gun and really enjoyed that. So I was like, oh, another Western game, I'll try that. And then it just didn't. Yeah, again, it wasn't. Just a really crappy 360 game, I guess.
Sure.
It's funny looking back, there really weren't that many good 360 games.
Jay, I'm looking through the list and I couldn't disagree more.
Really?
Yeah,
Name me a
dude.
few.
Just
I
to
think
give
other
you
than
an
Final Fantasy
idea,
13.
Force Unleashed, Gears of War, Fable 2,
Yeah,
Cameo, Mass Effect,
yeah,
Gears 2, and Resident Evil 5 are all on the same page.
sure.
Then let's not even go further up. Just Cause, Mirror's
Yeah,
Edge, Saints Row 2, Tekken
yeah,
6, Mass Effect 2,
no,
Aliens vs Predator,
yeah.
Mercenaries 2, Overlord. Wow, Brutal Legend, ODST, Halo 3, The Saboteur. The list goes on, bro.
I guess that every generation's the same then. There's sort of like a handful of really, really good ones and then lots that aren't really that good.
I would argue though that the ones that aren't very good, Jay, or the average or the mediocre, we don't play them as much, or I don't play them as much anymore because I just haven't got the time, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm never going to play Call of Juarez in this day and age. You know what I
Also, it
mean?
makes you appreciate the good ones more.
True.
Being like, oh, thank God these ones exist because without them, we'd have nothing to play.
True. True.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for entertaining me there, Jay. Let's jump right into the main show.
Okay.
So, what have you been playing? We haven't recorded for a few weeks now. By the way, Jay, we're fully up to date. So every episode's been published, both YouTube and
Sweet.
audio. So
Yeah, I've just got to do the posts.
we're in a good place. So what have
Okay.
you been playing? I know it's been a long
Well,
time.
I platinumed, I guess. Well, we need a new name. What was the thing we came up with? I'm pretty sure we came up with something, didn't we?
Did we? What for the Xbox version?
For the Xbox, we can't. I mean, platinum is easy. Or I get
Max
like I
G. I
just
always say Max G or 1000
I
G,
just I
right?
just like how platinum sounds.
Yeah, me
I
too.
platinumed Midnight Suns. Took me about 160 hours or so. Took me a while.
Not an easy game to
So
platinum
I
by any
stopped
stretch.
playing that. Yeah, not easy, but not difficult. Just time consuming. Um, but yeah, I completed that maybe a week ago, and I think I'm just sort of like dabbling in stuff now, just until Hogwarts Legacy comes out in 2 days. So yeah, not really. I mean, other than that, just playing Overwatch, grinding it as much as I can.
Well, Jay, let's not skip over Midnight Suns here. I know you've told me, but let's tell the people what was the main journey like. You remember? Because so you finish the main game, 70, 80 hours. You do all
Oh
this
yeah, that's
stuff,
true. It was
and
about
then
80 hours, wasn't it? It was
have
funny
to.
that into how like the main campaign was about 80 hours, but then I put in another 80 hours just to finish what I wanted to finish. So yeah, the main achievement that was sort of like bugging me was there's like a light and dark system in the game, and you get rewards and a couple other things based on the I guess almost like the karma system. And I on my first playthrough, or my you know first time playing, I did all the light stuff because when you did all the light dialogue options, you tend to get more friendship points from that, which and just means you're going to level up easier and have better stuff, and from all that. If you have less friendship, you don't get to have as many stats or whatever on your characters. So I thought, well, I'll do that, and then once I've got such a high friendship level with so many of my characters, getting a little bit minus here and there isn't really that bad of a thing. So I had to, because there's 200 points you have to get towards either end to get the achievement for one for light, one for dark. So I got 200 on light and then immediately started going the other way. So I had to technically get 200 points towards light, but then 400 points towards dark. And I got there eventually. Yeah, it was just having to grind matches over and over. So the only way you could get dark points after you'd finished the campaign, because there's no more dialogue options to be able to get that anymore. Every 5 in-game days, you could lounge by the pool, but when there was like a certain moon in the sky, you could get 1 point of dark, and then every match that you played, as long as you played enough of the dark cards on your main character, you get 2 points. So I could do 3 points a day. 400 points is at least 100 in-game days. So it's about 150 extra in-game days.
Okay.
I think by the time I'd finished the campaign, I was probably close to 100 anyway. So,
And
I think
I'm sorry if you just explained this, Jay. So how do the days, like, how long does the in-game day work for us?
So the days work like this. So you start out in the day, and you're in the Abbey. You walk around the Abbey doing all your stuff you have to do to collect bits and pieces and talk to heroes. And then once you start a mission and then complete the mission, then you come back to the Abbey at night. So when you come back to the Abbey at night, most people are in their rooms or like doing their own things. So you can't always chat to everybody, but you can still do a couple things here and there. And then once you go back to bed, you can then the day will start again. So that's kind of like the loop of progression, I guess. Is that once you go to bed after a mission, the day resets and you go to the
So you
next
have
day.
to do one mission essentially.
Yeah, basically. So for every day is a mission, and then yeah.
So can you just grind a story mission that you've done before that's really easy and just
what they have is they have like a table.
Sure.
It's called the mirror table. It's sort of like a sandy type thing, like almost like a dune looking thing, where like all the landmarks of a certain area pop up, like a magnetic looking thing. And then you just pick, like there's basically random missions in like 3 different locations to choose from. And each mission, like random mission, will give you like a certain resource. So one will give you credits, one will give you like a loot box to open for cards. One will give you another type of resource, and then another one will give you a third type of resource. So you just have to sort of pick and choose which one you want. And then each mission also, each mission will have like a logo of the character above it, and that character that's on that logo, you have to at least use that character. So the other 2 characters that you pick in your teams of 3 characters will be will be your choice, rather than the one that's on the mission. So I'd always try to go for the one. I just level up the same characters over and over. So I think my Hunter is like level 150. My Doctor Strange is probably the same. My Iron Man is similar. So, and plus I was playing on the hardest difficulty. So if you're playing on the hardest difficulty, your XP and resource gain is like infinitely higher. So that's why I was able to get to such high level. Had I been playing it on easy, I'd probably still be in the like low 50 level, because where I'm at currently with my deck builds, it's just super. I don't die anymore, so I can just wipe out I can do a mission in like 1 turn basically. So,
Sure.
Which is fair, might seem a bit naff because it's like god mode or whatever, but there's still a challenge sometimes. Sometimes you don't get the right decks or the right cards to come up. So
sure. So you've done it. Have you uninstalled it?
No, not yet, because the DLC for the Deadpool DLC came out, which is great. It was fine. It lasted about 4 or 5 hours or so. But the annoying thing is the achievements are bugged on it, and I'm a bit worried that to be able to get the achievements, I'm gonna have to do the DLC again. But I can't do the DLC again unless I start a new game. So.
Oh my goodness,
Yeah, so I'm hoping they get fixed, or it's just I'm going to miss out on those achievements for now.
Have you completed the Deadpool DLC?
Yeah, I completed the Deadpool missions, but when I completed them, the achievements were bugged. So technically, I'm void, I guess.
Sure. Common problem for a lot of players?
Yeah, most people. If you look on the achievements, I think less than 1% of players have all of them. So.
Oh well, then
any of them.
Sure. In that case, either
they were stuck on 0.01% for like a week or 2, and now they're at like 0.7%. So some people have them, some people don't.
Yeah,
I reckon the people that have them are probably people who played the DLC after the achievements were bugged. Probably.
Yeah, it sounds like they've definitely got to fix something there, and it also sounds like, because I imagine at least 5% of the players are going to play the DLC. I imagine, but I could be wrong about that.
Yeah.
So
the DLC came out about 2 weeks ago, and they still haven't fixed it. So
sure,
don't really know what they plan to do, to be honest.
So I'm not sure if you've told me and the people, Jay. I mean, I know you've told me. I'm not sure if you said on the pod what your overall impressions are of Marvel Midnight Suns. I can't remember, but maybe
Yeah,
just give a brief summary of if you like it.
I think it's probably the best Marvel game that's come out in recent history.
Since
Definitely better
Spider-Man?
than Avengers. Not Spider-Man. Spider-Man's still the best. So this is probably like a close
Yeah,
second.
but it's the best game since Spider-Man. Well, what about Guardians though?
Oh, Guardians too. That's probably second. It's probably third. Yeah,
A very good game though.
a very good game. Marvel doesn't have a good track record with a lot of their games, so
Sure.
this is refreshing more than anything else.
And you've been playing Overwatch 2 dailies as well. I mean, you said to me
Yeah, been
yesterday you've been
playing it
playing
this
that for what,
morning.
like 70 days straight or something, or longer than
Well,
that?
actually, let's figure it out. How many days has it been since October 4th? I'm actually curious. I kind of want to have a look. But whatever that length of time is, I've been playing it every day since then. October 4th. 124 days. So basically 4 months in a row.
It's quite a long time. You still enjoying it?
Yes, I haven't got sick of it.
What's the status with Overwatch 2, Jay? Is the service going well? Is there a lot of people still
It's
playing it?
funny.
What's going on?
There's obviously like a lot of drama because Blizzard are now known as the company that likes to fuck over their player base as much as possible
Okay, sure.
and try to get as much money out of them as much as they can. Given Diablo Immortal, they're basically like robbing people. There's definitely been a lot more improvements and a lot more developer um, dialogue. What am I looking for? Back and forth. A lot more transparency. Only in like the last week or two, like devs all of a sudden were like, we need to start talking to our player base because for some reason they're not buying anything.
What, like for the microtransactions sort
Yeah,
of
so the
thing?
microtransactions were way too expensive. Like to get one legendary skin costs like 20-25 quid.
Okay.
And you got to think the legendary skins were technically free back in the day. So they've gone from free to they've gone from earnable
Yeah.
to not earnable unless you buy them.
Ugh.
Yeah,
It is free to
so
play though, I suppose. So I suppose
it
that
does. So
counts it a
that's
little.
what the issue is, right? So the main game only cost about 40 quid when it first went. Well, when it was maybe most of the way through its initial cycle. I think when the game first came out, it was probably 60, 70, and it went down to about 30, 40.
Mm.
But you got to think you're going to pay 30, 40 quid for a game, and the skins are free. But I'm now having to pay 20 quid for one skin, and there's like 200, 300 skins in the game. It's like, no, I'm not doing that. Problem is, the way to earn the credits to be able to buy these skins in game, you only get like, I think 60 a week, and they cost like upwards of 2,000 credits. So you'd have to play, I think, for like about 2 years before you even got close to buying one legendary skin.
That's
I think
pointless.
someone
That is
worked it out. I
pointless.
think you'd have to play for about almost 400 years to unlock everything in the game. And that's if you were able to actually do every single challenge for the week. So if you missed one, you'd be adding like an extra however many weeks on over that 400-year period. And in 400 years, I don't think we'll be on Overwatch 2. So
Way deep in the
what
ground.
they've
Way
done
deep in
recently
the
is
ground.
they've lowered the price slightly for some of the cosmetics, and they've also made it where they haven't locked them, because what would happen is there's like an in-game store where you couldn't unlock a certain skin unless it popped up in the store that day or that week. So everything was locked apart from the ones that were just in the shop. Whereas before, you could spend your credits on whatever one you wanted. So now, recently, in the next season, they're gonna make it so you can buy any of them whenever you want. They're not going to be locked behind the store anymore. So, but they say that, but there's no proof of it yet. So until it happens, I'm not happy about it, basically. So yeah, other than that, I
Understood.
think the only other thing I think I might have mentioned before was that the battle pass was just not great. Like there wasn't really any rewards in there that made you think, oh, is that even worth it?
So what's motivating you to play it then? You're just having fun with it?
Um, I think I'm a bit bummed because I missed out on like most of the seasons for Overwatch 1. I probably played the first 2 or 3 seasons for Overwatch 1 and then missed out on the next like 18. I think there was like 21, 22 seasons in the end. So I just stopped playing it, and I kind of want to like just be involved a bit. I like
Mm,
being in that community in that world, so it's just nice being part of something.
sure. Sure.
So I want to try and stick with it. They also changed the fact that it went from 6v6 to 5v5. I think it just makes the game um, you're less likely to like lose or feel bad about losing in the game. Like it's your impact is felt a lot more versus before it wasn't really felt as much.
Sure. And on that front, also, that kind of, in terms of keeping up to date with the game and enjoying that process, that kind of reminds me of how I felt with Valhalla playing, as stuff came out and stuff. So I can appreciate that.
Fair enough.
Like Borderlands 3 as well, from a single player perspective, but I think you get what I mean. So yeah. And then you're also looking forward to Hogwarts Legacy, which you say has come out in 2 days if you pre-ordered it. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm still a bit bummed because I mentioned this to you. I want to follow the guide because I want to make sure I don't miss anything. There's going to be a Power Picks guide. It says from the 10th of February, but the game technically comes out on the 7th if you bought the deluxe edition, which I have. So I'm not actually going to be able to follow a guide until the 10th. So there's a chance I might miss something.
Do you know if Power Picks gets a review copy for their guides?
They do. Yes, they have to because they get it about 2 weeks before the game comes out.
Wow.
Because you got to think this game's probably at least 100 hours to get everything.
I mean, so I think that's an assumption personally, but
it's almost guaranteed at this point. They have to be able to get everything and show, make maps and make videos and
sure,
which takes a while, I imagine. I know they're a team of people, but even so,
I love their guide so much, Jay. Every time I see there's a Power Picks guide, I'm just like,
I'm annoyed when there isn't one for a game because it's like, well, what do I do? I just have to sort of like
scroll through IGN and batter off the 5 pop-ups that come
usually
up.
If there isn't one on Power Picks, there's usually someone else who has made one. I've checked. Hi-Fi Rush has one now, so.
Oh, cool. I find for me, my go-to is YouTube because I like the visualization. I struggle a little bit more with the description of an item. If I can just see where it is, I could just get it,
I guess it depends on the guide, right? Because PowerPix is great at making videos and like they're good with the visual, good with the just having to read something. But it also depends on the game itself, whether or not the game. Because a lot of times the game will just be like, just play through the game, have fun, and then maybe during your second playthrough, that's when you have to actually go and find stuff. Whereas other games, you have to start. You have one playthrough and that's it. So
sure.
But Hogwarts is supposed to get all the achievements. You need to do, I think, 4 playthroughs. But whether or not I've spoke to you about it recently. We don't know how far in the story you have to get to unlock all 4 achievements or whatever.
Yeah, and also furthermore, we don't quite know the nature of the open world. There might not be any missable collectibles anyway, or you might be able to replay levels.
I can't imagine because like the only thing I can think of is if they say there's like a mission where you can't get to a certain area again later, and there's a collectible in that section, well, I can't go back. So what do I do, kind of thing, But I mean, chances are, I'm going to be playing 4 playthroughs, so even if I do miss something, there's a chance I might be able to go back and do it again. I don't know.
Dude, I am, despite my reservations, right? So as I told you, Jay, I'm not quite 100% sold on this game just yet, but the rumblings are looking good. And I'll tell you what, Jay, if it's as good as we hope it is, that is so exciting. A Harry Potter game. Yeah. It's so exciting.
Yeah, it's funny. There's definitely a bit of discourse online at the minute. Obviously the people who are trying to get it boycotted and
crack on.
They're kind of like they're putting up imagery and like gameplay of the game, being like, "Oh, this game is trash. Like, I can't believe it looks like this. Like, it doesn't look very good, and the combat is terrible and all this kind of stuff." But from people who've like had review copies already, are playing it currently, all they can say is everything but praise for it's all praise for the game. So.
Fingers crossed, Jay. Fingers crossed. I'm excited for you.
I'm very hopeful. I'm just a bit worried that I'm going to miss something. I'm just,
try and enjoy it.
There's going to be a 3-day period where I'm like, oh crap, am I not doing it right? There's also like a relationship story aspect to it where like there's 4 different friends that you make during the game, and you have to like finish their relationship line, which basically means finishing their part of the story. But whether or not, like, if you make a wrong dialogue choice, do you then void that? I don't know. So.
Well, if not, Jay, surely, because like, despite the achievement where you need to play it, each one throughout the game, why don't you? Because I know you're a hardcore player when it comes to multiple playthroughs anyway. So why don't you just have your first playthrough in your mind as right? I'm just going to enjoy it and go along with the ride and not have to worry, and then. By the time you get to the second playthrough, just the second one, all the guys will be out. You do your proper relationship, collectibles, playthrough on your second, and then do your third and fourth for the Chivos, and then you're done.
Well, I kind of hope that I'll be able to get it all in the first one, and I'll still play the second, third, and fourth one anyway. Because my plan was to play the first playthrough as a Slytherin, because that's like my main house.
What? And so you it would annoy you even if you even if you did the collectibles run through on the second one.
Probably, yeah. I kind of want to get out of the way,
Fair enough.
just so I can have more. I want to be able to have fun on the other playthroughs.
Fair
I want the
enough.
first one to be the stressful one, and the second, third, and fourth to be the fun
But
one.
I would imagine that when you're exposed to all the new things in the game, you would want that to be good, right? The side missions, the story.
I don't know. I guess we're just sort of speculating at this point. So
Sure, sure.
I'll let you know
And
what
then
happens.
yeah, sure. And then you've also got leaked games, Jay.
Yeah. So I don't know how much you know about this, but the new Dragon Age leaked this morning.
I don't know anything.
Yeah, some gameplay. Whether or not the gameplay is like old or new, we don't know. But there's like a 10-second clip of gameplay and a couple images of like a loot system and like a bunch of other stuff that's shown up. So
So
it looks kind of okay actually. Like a lot of people are sort of bashing it, but it definitely doesn't look finished. It doesn't look polished. It just looks like a fairly bare bones
do you think they
thing.
were planning to do a presentation soon? Do you think that's where this leak came from,
I
or
don't know. Who it's BioWare, isn't it? Who do?
yeah,
Yeah. I don't know. Hard
okay.
to say. It's funny how much it looks like an old Dragon Age game, though. It still looks very much like Dragon Age.
So
Which is
you
funny.
think online community bashing it even though it's unfinished? Do you think it doesn't look too bad?
Yeah, I mean, I can't really give too much criticism because we haven't seen enough of it yet. So.
Yeah, true. Temperature check on Dragon Age 4 for you?
I kind of wish they just rebooted the whole thing.
Still? Okay, fine.
Yeah, it's annoying. Like, I'm not sure how much this is going to be because we know. I mean, we already know what the story's going to be, and I'm not massively excited about it. Like, the story is basically, you remember that mage guy from the third, from
Yeah, I don't
Inquisition?
know, but I know, you know what I mean?
The elf mage, the bald one. Like, it's
Yeah,
basically
yeah.
he's gone like evil.
Yeah.
That's literally the whole. It's like, why? Just start again. Like you're not. Like
It
it
might
knows,
be a
like
soft reboot anyway, Jay. I'm sure they'll
I
have a
kind of hope
10-minute
so,
little
but
cinematic catch-up video at the start, and then it'll be like, oh yeah, look at this cool new villain, and he's developed, and all this and all that, you know, and then
I was
they'll...
kind of hoping that they try to like get a new audience in, rather than try to appease to the old one, because I mean, Dragon Age is pretty much dead at this point, so you might as well just start again.
Well, a lot of people would contest that. There is a fan base out there.
Yeah, but I can't imagine it's that big.
I mean, yeah.
Hard to say. Hard to say.
I actually think the older I get, there's definitely a fan base there, Jay. But I have to say, I think people are becoming more open to saying out loud things like Inquisition isn't that good or Dragon Age 2 isn't like, well, Dragon Age 2 is never that liked anyway. But I think those games, when they first came out, a lot of people liked, critically acclaimed, right? Even Dragon Age 2 to some degree. Whereas, Inquisition got Game of the Year at a lot of places. Don't get me wrong, 2014 was a slow year anyway.
Yeah,
but
Jesus.
Shadow of Mordor came out that year. Sort your shit out, guys. But now that we've removed ourselves and we've reflected on it, it definitely feels like I know you've sort of been on that train for a long time, but it definitely feels like a lot more people are saying, actually, I don't think Dragon Age is that good
No, it's really
per
not.
se.
It's fairly mid.
Mm.
If I want to use that terminology, it's pretty mid.
So, Jay, your interlude for this week,
Mm.
I'm very intrigued about. Would you like to let me know what you
Yeah,
want
let
to
me just
discuss?
mention one more leaked thing. If I
Oh, please.
could.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, please.
Suicide Squad. Couple. Well, it was mainly one image from that. It was like It was like a menu that got leaked from that, which basically solidified the game is possibly to be a game to service game. It had a battle pass on it, so people went, "Oh God, another one," kind of thing.
Sure.
And
Sure.
people at the moment are a bit skeptical of game to service games. So
Naturally, I am too.
yeah, because a lot of them are dying.
Yeah, I know you want to move on. That's a great segue. Just quickly
Yes.
on Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
I had no impression it was going to be anything but a live service game.
I had a feeling it might have been almost like what Gotham Knights was recently.
Sure. Is that
Almost
not
like
a live
you
service
sort of
game?
choose your character from the beginning and you play your playthrough as that character, or maybe it might have, in my mind it was almost like a Guardians game, like you could sort of swap between the characters. Although
Sure.
in the Guardians you couldn't, you just play the Star Lord. But maybe you were just like Harley Quinn in this one, and you could send out King Shark to do something. I don't know, something like that. But
But
it looks. The thing is, it looks great.
mm,
And I don't care if it is a games of service game. I'm still going to enjoy the hell out of it.
agreed. I think the key to a game as a service game doing well is the foundations are excellent, i.e., gameplay and story, and there is enough there without microtransactions
Yes.
that a lot of people want to play. Simple as.
So, Destiny 1 didn't have microtransactions, no?
I'm sure it did.
I can't remember it having them.
Okay, what I can say about Destiny 1 is that it was short as shit when it came out.
That's true. Okay. No, I'm just trying. I feel like every games of service game has to be compared with Destiny nowadays. Because Destiny
Well,
is
they're the top tier, right?
That's what I'm saying. They are the ones who made it work and are still making it work. Like it's been going for about 10 years now, right? Almost.
Yeah, 2024 will be 10 years.
Yeah. So I mean, and that's the thing. When Destiny released, first one released, their words were, "We have a 10-year plan." So whatever 10-year plan that is, it's probably coming to an end, and hopefully they're going to do something about it. Hopefully, Destiny 3, fingers crossed. Let's go.
And what
But
and related to my point, Jay, I think
yeah.
what a couple of things that what make Destiny work is the gameplay is phenomenal and the foundations is there, if that makes sense. And they just
Yeah, so
update it with new stuff.
as long as a game has a great story with longevity, I think that's probably the
Sure.
main attribute you need. Good enough mechanically that it's actually fun to play and it doesn't get
Repetitive.
stagnant or repetitive. Yeah. And then I'd say in terms of loot, the loot actually needs to be farmable enough that you get good stuff when you need it, but also farmable enough that it's kind of grindy in some areas. Like you actually need to have a challenge to be rewarded appropriately. Like you need to, actually put the skill in and the time in to be rewarded appropriately, which I think Destiny definitely requires of its players. Like you're not going to get given an exotic for doing anything easy necessarily. It's definitely one of those instances where you need to be challenged. So I'm hoping that there's some level of that in this game. I think that there's obviously still a campaign single player aspect to both Destiny and Suicide Squad, so there's that. I mean, that's the thing. Like it could easily become like another Avengers where it just becomes awful. But the weirdly, like the UI for the game looks more polished than what Avengers does now. So like that's usually a good. Usually, if the UI looks very basic and very sharp, it usually means that the game hasn't had a lot of budget towards certain areas. Versus if a game has a fairly flowy type of UI, I found that the game tends to be just better overall. Like if the UI almost looks like a Windows 98 program, you can usually tell, oh, this game's probably not going to be very good.
Sure.
Like it looks like an old computer. Whereas
Do
if
you
it
mean
actually
like a
looks
lot on the
stylized,
screen or
no, I just mean like it just
in the
looks like a
way?
basic window. Like there's nothing that's been done. It's not like got a cool color to it. It's not like rounded. It's just all very sharp and just like a plain box with nothing, with just white text in it.
Sure.
I hate that when games do that. There's only one game that's only ever made that look good, and that was Nier. Nier. That's like the style of Nier, so it just kind of makes sense. But yeah, I've got high hope for that game, and it leaking, I think did better. I don't think it did any good. I think it just prepared people for the worst, potentially. I think a lot of people were a bit bummed that it's going to have a game pass in it or a battle pass in it, but for me, it made it even better. So.
Well, I would expect as much personally, but on the point you made, Jay, about games as a service dying off,
they need to monetize it properly. That's what they need to do. But yes, yeah, they are dying off. There's quite a few, especially Ubisoft. Ubisoft seems to be struggling with it at the minute too. But they just now, I think Ubisoft have cancelled 3 games. One of them being like a sort of Fortnite type clone type thing.
Okay.
I think it was called Project Q.
Didn't they already try that with Hyperscape? Isn't that what that was?
Yeah, that failed miserably too. So apparently, I was watching a video a little while ago. Ubisoft have had over 10 different failed Fortnite clones.
Really?
And only a couple of them finished. Hyperscape, Hypers. What was it called
Hyperscape.
again? Hyperscape. Yeah, that one actually made it to the end, and the rest of them didn't even make it.
Crikey.
So they've probably spent like tens of millions just on research and getting them, like concept art and stuff,
So
and then just never finishing it.
So this bit, Jay, on games as a service dying off, then, is this a general? Well, it sounds more like a fact, really, that you're observing that a lot of them are being shut down, essentially.
Yeah, so Rumbleverse is now leaving. Avengers, it will be done by September. Technically end of March, but depends on what you mean by dead. Yeah, there's a couple things like the Ubisoft Project Q thing that is basically dead in the water.
First
They've
Soldier.
just cancelled it. Yeah, First Soldier was one that's being stopped now. Apex Legends is actually having a bit of trouble with server issues, and people saying that there's a chance that the game might not even like last that long now, even though it's like fairly successful.
Oh, I don't believe that at all. Aren't all
No,
the
I don't
like
either. But
don't like 30,000 people play that game every day? Like,
yeah, probably they're probably making so much money off that thing.
they definitely are.
Getting a bit dark. There we go.
Nice.
But yeah, no, I feel like we were having this conversation about zombie games a couple of years ago, but they're sort of making a bit of a comeback.
Ironically related to the death of these other games, because you would argue that zombie games died because there's too many, like games as a service are now. Maybe games as a service will have a comeback too, right? But yeah, zombie
Yeah, I
games
kind of
seem to
hope
be
so.
having a comeback.
Like, I feel like there's like a genre of games where there's like the market gets flooded because one does really really well,
Sure.
and then they figure out that hang on, just because we're cloning it doesn't mean it's actually going to do well. It then loses money, and then they all shut down, and then another one comes out where they didn't try as hard as the other ones, but for some reason it's like amazingly good, and then it's just like it blows up again, and then everyone tries again. It's just like a bit of an ebb and flow, a bit of a cycle of just bad and good game releases essentially. But these businesses, they try super hard to just copy and just try their own thing with it, and a lot of the times it just doesn't really work out, and it's a bit of a bummer, to be honest.
Yeah, totally. I guess that's. Do you think it's probably a good thing though, Jay? Because then hopefully they'll go, actually, maybe we should put these resources to a good game, perhaps.
Yeah, there's pros and cons. Pros being that eventually it sort of sparks innovation later on. Like people get a bit fed up with one thing, seeing one thing, so that there's sort of that necessity to have to come up with something better, rather than just looking at something and go, oh, I can do something like that, and then they try and then they do all right, I guess, for like 3 to 6 months, and then it just fails.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of indie developers have done, not necessarily because they want to get loads of money, but probably because they have the idea and they want to see it out there, but also because they probably think, well, nobody else is making, Stardew Valley, as in an Animal Crossing game that, is kind of more up to date and doesn't look like a PS2 game.
Sure.
But that kind of mentality of, I'll just make it myself, and I'll just do it with like a team of 5 people, like Tunic, or not even really, like more like 1 to 2 people, and it'll just be this huge hit, and everyone will love it. Do you know what I mean? Whereas like Ubisoft could have easily said, "Yeah, we'll fund that game for you," but they're all so fixed on, as you say, duplicating 1 or 2
way
games.
Too high.
Yeah,
they need to lower their standards. Ubisoft, I think too highly of themselves. Because of the success they've had with AC and Rainbow Six.
For Honor. Yeah, but to be fair, they did smash these out the park.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. They know that
there's money
there. The quality of games they can make can be high. It's just that they expect that every time, and that's not necessarily how the world works. They can get it every time. It's just I think they ask too much of themselves sometimes.
I think there really is a tale of 2 Ubisofts here, Jay, in terms of we have the one Ubisoft which is, like you say, smashing it out in terms of Rainbow Six, but even though Quarantine didn't do so well, or whatever it's called, and then For Honor, whatever, and AC's obviously killing it at the moment.
And the Division as well.
Division also a big one, but then we also have this.
Division actually is one of their biggest selling game franchises.
Right.
Yeah.
But then we also have this other element of Ubisoft, which is, no offense, I know you like Watch Dogs 1, but Watch Dogs, you've got the kind of...
Watch Dogs 2 was terrible.
Beyond Good and Evil 2, that's never coming out.
No.
You've got
2026 at the earliest.
And you've got these kind of weird and wacky games, which I think they like to market as wacky, but actually they're probably quite calculated, if that makes sense. So let's look at Far Cry 5 Season Pass, for instance. They come out and they go, right, we all know you like Blood Dragon, so here's 3 wacky, weird DLCs. And you think, no. Blood Dragon just sold well, so you want to duplicate that. And lo and behold, I don't think those DLCs were reviewed very well.
Probably not.
So, like you say, I feel like there's a lot of overcomplication here. We've told you what we want. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes it's better for you to tell us what we want, right?
Yep.
But
Yeah.
we've said, we want an Assassin's Creed in the old style. Apparently, that's what Mirage is, even though we still haven't seen anything of the game itself. And we've got these other big Assassin's Creed games that obviously could be really good, right? But apart from that, I don't really know what else we've got to look forward to from Ubisoft, to be honest, Jay.
Yeah.
Where's Splinter Cell? Oh yeah, there's a remake. What the fuck are you talking about? You should have been planning this game 4 years ago. This game would have sold 8 million copies if you did it right. What are you talking about?
Yeah, they just seem to be making the wrong decisions at the wrong time always.
Yes.
I don't think they've made a single good decision in the last 5 years. Genuinely. I think they're just throwing shit at the wall and see what sticks, honestly, and that's not a good
I think you're right.
way of doing it.
I think you're right. And you've also got
Ubisoft
on here.
are almost like the black sheep of the gaming community at this point.
Nah, come on. What, over Activision Blizzard?
Well, they're probably equal. I think Activision Blizzard still have more of a reputation of making good games. So this is the thing. Activision Blizzard may have a shadow, a dark cloud over their heads, but at least they actually make good games.
Sure.
Whereas
Flooded with
Ubisoft,
microtransactions, but I hear you.
sort of have a grey cloud, but they make shit games. Most of the time, they make some good ones. They're sort of I think they're on a 70-30 track record of 70 being bad, 30 being good.
If I was Ubisoft, I would use the cash cows of Assassin's Creed and Far Cry and just develop other good games. I don't really know what else to say. Like you say, Jay, stop trying to develop Fortnite clones. Just forget it.
The thing is, that died 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Fortnite's still doing well, but you're not going to be able to even come close. Why even try?
And do you know what's funny, Jay? I know Rainbow Six is huge. I know. But if you look at the history of Ubisoft, their single player games have always been cash cows, really. So why not just hit that,
It almost feels like Ubisoft are having their Capcom era, where Capcom at one point were doing so badly that people thought it was just going to fizzle out.
Is that like Resi 6, Resi 6 period sort of thing?
Yeah, basically. Like the sort of the Street Fighter... I'm trying to think, because Street Fighter's gone through 2 different types of bad times. Street Fighter 3, 1 and 2. It's hard to explain, but Street Fighter 3 has 3 games. The first 2 iterations of Street Fighter 3 were so bad that Capcom basically went bankrupt. And then Capcom did it again, I think, around the Resi 6 era. And then they had a massive comeback with Monster Hunter, and that basically kicked off everything.
And Resident Evil 7, to be fair.
Yeah, 7 helped a lot too. But they're basically the reason why we even have the remakes and a bunch of other games from Capcom that are coming out.
What do you think?
Whereas Ubisoft have just AC, right? And obviously Rainbow
Far
Six
Cry.
or whatever. But I think they're usually funneling that profit back into those games rather than moving it elsewhere.
Sure.
And anything that's they're able to skim off the top, they're just using it to try and make failed games. And I don't really understand it. I really hope that Ubisoft have that one game in their back pocket that are just going to absolutely blow things out of the water, and then we're going to be like, oh, thank God, Ubisoft's back.
Totally.
They need their Monster Hunter really bad.
Yeah, we need a Capcom Renaissance for them, really, don't we? Ideally.
We really do.
Yeah.
It's just I'd hate to work for Ubisoft right now. I'd be so miserable, being like, oh, why am I even here? Especially with I want to bring up what the CEO said about. Did you read that thing? Or?
I didn't know. Please.
Yeah. So the Ubisoft CEO, who's a bit of an ass anyway, he's just such a wanky type individual. He clearly doesn't know. He's not managing it very well, clearly. But he put out an email to everyone basically saying, look, the ball's in your court now. It's up to you to make Ubisoft great again, basically. And everyone took that and went, hang on, aren't you the one who's managing this whole thing? Shouldn't it be your job to fix it? So basically, everyone who works in Ubisoft got this email, an internal email, and most of the developers were not very happy about it and mentioned, hey, we're not happy with this email. What the hell's going on? And they're all sort of revolting against the management at the minute. So
And that
I thought it
came
was quite
from
interesting.
Kotaku, that report, apparently.
Yeah,
But obviously people got that. That
it's strange. It's a really odd thing that we're start. It's somewhere like we're sort of
that's very
in
strange.
on the drama at the minute. It's very odd. Thing is, he came back saying like he made like a rebuttal, being like, "Oh, I didn't mean it like that." It's like, of course you bloody did. You're a massive fat cat who's trying to pass blame off because you're never wrong about anything.
Sure.
If you make enough money, you can't be wrong. Apparently, it's like Jesus Christ, these people just no, they just got nothing, no goodness in their heart at all, have they?
And you've also got Forspoken
Awful.
versus Hi-Fi Rush as well.
I have, yes. There's been a bit of
Wait, sorry, Jay. Before we go further, can I
yeah,
just,
go on.
can I just, can I just, guys? I take no pleasure in this.
Uh-oh.
What did I tell Jay?
What did
Don't
you tell me?
pre-order Forspoken.
Well, I didn't.
He
So I played the
didn't,
demo and it was shit.
and guess what?
Yeah, it flopped.
It flopped.
So
To
Square
be
Enix
fair, I
also
went.
having a bit of a Capcom moment too at the minute.
Well, that's true. I
They
don't
really are.
think it. I think it actually flopped bigger than I expected. Frankly, I
Yeah,
thought it
me
was going to be
too. I thought it
mediocre.
was going to be more average. I thought it was going to be like
Yeah,
sevens,
yeah.
but it didn't. It got like fives and sixes, and I was like, oh
If
my
that.
god.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
deserved, but oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Square Enix are again. They're having a really bad moment at the minute because they're still in on this NFT stuff. People are revolting against that.
No better time to buy Ubisoft or Square Enix, Jay.
Square Enix is sort of having like a bit of a Japanese Western
Crisis.
woke. They're sort of having a bit of a woke crisis at the minute with like trying to make things more, diverse. They're having a bit of a Marvel moment. It's not working because people don't want that shit. They just want the games. Just make the game, the story. Like it shouldn't be diversity first. It should be quality game first. And Square Enix are for some reason going against that, and I don't understand why. But yeah, so Hi-Fi Rush got shadow dropped at the directors, the developers direct, which is supposed to be a new thing that Xbox is going to be doing every couple of months at this point, maybe once or twice a year, which was very successful. Apparently, Hi-Fi Rush was actually viral within the sort of Microsoft world, so much so that they all sort of thought, well, hang on, why don't we just shadow drop it at this developers direct and see if it also goes viral outside of our team or whatever. So that's what they did. They shadow dropped it, and it's now getting Game of the Year contender talk, basically.
It's February, guys. It's
Well,
February.
hang on. Elden Ring got Game of the Year, and that came out. When did it come out?
Oh no, yeah. No,
February.
a fair point. All I mean
Thank
is,
you. You know what? No one is exempt from the Game of the Year. It could have come out January 1st. It still would have been valid.
I hear you. I hear you.
Still would have
All
been
I
valid.
mean is,
I hate that
let's.
argument. I hate that.
No. All I mean is, let's just enjoy the games,
Yeah.
rather than having to label the GOTY on it. You
Well,
know what I
people
mean?
was talking about the GOT when Elden Ring came out too.
No, I know they were, and I didn't like that either. I just enjoy the game. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
sure.
But I hear what you're saying.
So yeah, Hi-Fi Rush is having a bit of a viral moment, and people are basically saying that Hi-Fi Rush, sort of washed all the Forspoken crap out of the way, which it kind of, did. To be honest, people were like, "Oh, it's almost like an Xbox versus PlayStation moment at the minute, where like all these people who are sort of like Xbox content creators versus PlayStation content creators are having a bit of a war of like, we're better than you." So rather than the actual, well, funnily enough, we know that Microsoft and Sony are going at it. They're sort of butting heads with all this Activision Blizzard stuff. So it almost feels like the sort of golden age of gaming again, back when Xbox and PlayStation would sort of battle out at E3.
Yeah,
Like who had the
100%.
bigger stand kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like I feel that's come back, but in two different ways. It's come back with the community having a go at each other for which game is better that comes out. Game Pass versus PlayStation Premium or whatever it's called, PlayStation Plus thingy. Like which one's better? And then you've also got actual Sony versus Microsoft like butting heads with the law.
Yeah.
So it kind of feels like we're coming back on the whole gaming war again. It feels nice.
Totally. Couple of things there, Jay. One, if we will take it in that perspective of Xbox versus PlayStation, this must be probably the first time in a very, very, very long time where an Xbox exclusive has, let's say, outdone a PlayStation exclusive.
I think the first time at least in like many years.
Many years.
Xbox really haven't released
like 10 plus years, maybe, perhaps.
Yeah, probably. I think this is definitely like hopefully a good trajectory or a good sign that Xbox is on the comeback.
Hope so. The other thing I wanted to say, Jay, there's actually two things.
Yeah.
One, Hi-Fi Rush. I think I'm not sure if this is bias kicking in here, Jay, but when I saw this game, okay, and I thought, okay, Xbox has acquired Tango Gameworks, the makers of The Evil Within 1 and 2, and Ghostwire Tokyo. What game are they possibly going to release exclusive for Xbox? Hi-Fi Rush.
Right?
Like,
well, hang on. To me, this is actually like the Hi-Fi Rush is almost like the quintessential Xbox game to me. Because when I think Xbox, I also think of like Sunset Overdrive.
No, exactly. This is my whole point, though. Like, it comes across as an Xbox game, which just makes me laugh because this game was obviously in development before the acquisition, right? But you've got to think I can't see this game being on PlayStation. I just can't see it being on PlayStation.
Does not look anything like a PlayStation game. Like, you can just tell. You look at a game and go, "Oh, okay, that's for PlayStation," or "Oh, okay, that's for Xbox." You can just tell.
Literally, I just thought that was a bit funny.
They have, like an aesthetic, I guess you could say, and PlayStation also have one. Like, we've spoken about it before, how Xbox almost have like a younger aesthetic, whereas PlayStation almost has more of an adult aesthetic.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it feels like. But I feel like Xbox are almost like that inner child that you have. Whereas PlayStation are more like the gritty adult who realizes that the world is just hell.
Yeah.
Kind of what it feels like.
Yeah. I truth told you, I forgot the other thing I was going to talk about, so
sure,
that's fine. Should we move on to the news?
Yeah, can do.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. By the way, I have no idea how this is going to present later, but we'll find out.
No, it's probably going to be awful. We're working with what I got.
Yeah, exactly. First up, Jay, this is a story which I've seen the headline for but haven't read about, so I'm a little bit scared to read because obviously it's something I care about. Let's have a look here. Sorry, guys, just trying to get the news story up. Reported by Bloomberg, EA is currently in the midst of a slew of cancellations and closures, including a previously unknown project codenamed TFL or Titanfall Legends, a secret single-player game set in the Titanfall and Apex Legends universe.
Yes.
Which I'm gutted about because all I want is Titanfall 3.
Yeah, so apparently, I've been on this. I get most of my news from gaming news from Twitter because I follow a bunch of people who are sort of like industry insiders, basically, whether it be Xbox or PlayStation. So I sort of look at it from both sides, see what people are saying, and a lot of them were talking about this and saying about, oh my god, this is literally like exactly what we wanted. Why is it not happening? This game probably would have been amazing for EA. What is going on? And it's funny because the Titanfall thing, I can from the outside looking in, I can understand why people love it. For me, it's not my kind of thing. Like, I enjoyed it initially when it came out, but it just sort of fell off for me very, very hard. For a lot of other people, they absolutely love it, and I'm glad that it's a thing that people want. And I would have loved to have seen this game been made because I think it should have been. And I imagine you probably agree.
Yeah, absolutely. I love Titanfall 1 and 2 more than some of my favorite games, period.
It just makes you think, like, last 10 years. What's the plan with the Titanfall IP, Like, do they plan on just shelving this, or are they going to completely leave it in?
It sounds as though obviously EA is making cutbacks across the board. Yeah, obviously Respawn won't be invincible from this, but Respawn haven't put a foot wrong, really, apart from the unpolishedness of Fallen Order, which, let's be honest, was probably EA's fault for making them put out so soon. So they can't put a foot wrong. I love what Respawn do. Even Apex Legends is booming. My opinion, Jay, if you've got Apex Legends making you that much money, why not just make a Titanfall 3? You know what I mean? Like, come on, guys. So I want that or another game, but as long as Respawn are making games is all I care about, to be fair. Okay. Even if it's not Titanfall 3, I still want Respawn games. I know that they've sort of, Vince Zampella has recently taken over also the future of the Battlefield franchise, so maybe there might even be a Battlefield game in the works, but I think that's speculating a bit too much.
Isn't it? That thing died like 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Jesus
but hey,
Christ.
Oh no, sorry. Let me take it back. Do you know what? I'm getting I'm getting all mixed up, Jay. He
I
either
think I
took
know what
over
you're about to
Medal
say.
of Honor or Battlefield, but
Oh,
EA own both,
okay.
you see.
Either or.
Either or both.
Sure.
So anyway, yeah, I'm pretty good about that. Next up,
Okay.
the
I was just
day
going
of
to ask really quick. Like, at
yeah,
what point does, like, let's say they made Titanfall 3. When would you want it to stop?
three,
Like, when is
three's
how many
three's
games
good.
is enough games in a series of games? Because I almost bring up
Trilogy.
the question about like Gears and stuff. Like, how many Gears games is too many Gears games?
The way I see it, Jay,
Because
we must tell
Final
these
Fantasy there
stories.
isn't enough to me, but you know.
We must tell these stories in an arc, right? And like all great stories, most Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, it's a trilogy.
Yeah.
So Halo trilogy. So in my opinion, Jay, you make 3 Titanfall games. Feel free to do mobile spin-off, multiplayer spin-off, Apex Legends, whatever you want to do. But you just keep those 3 games as is. If you want to, then again, you don't really play Titanfall for the story, so whatever. But then again, if you do a Halo 4, 5, and 6, you must do them as a trilogy, if that makes sense. You can't sort of do a Halo 4 as a sequel to 3, and then do you know what I mean? Like, it's got to be in a slot. It's got to be in a slot.
It's got to be in an
So
arc.
in answer to your question, Gears 4, Gears 5, Gears 6 have to be an arc. That's why Gears 1, Gears 2, Gears 3 work so well, so to speak. You know what I'm saying?
That's a great answer. That's basically what I needed you to say. Yeah.
What do you
That's
think?
exactly the answer I was looking for, to be honest. I didn't know I needed that as the answer, but now I do that you've said it.
Sure.
So yeah, thank you for that. That's good. Okay, cool.
No, what look, and just to give another recent example, Jay, let's look at some of our favourite games. It's very likely that Fallen Order will become a trilogy and
God, I
nothing
hope so.
more. And it's also very likely that, well, we know now 7 Remake is a trilogy. So
It is, yes.
So
There's some great examples there. Well done. Yeah, that's good.
Thanks, bro.
Cool. All right, yeah.
So next up, the day before developer trademark was planned before the trademark dispute. What's this trademark dispute about, Jay?
So that
Fantastic
exact
co-op
article
on it?
wasn't exactly what I wanted to talk about. It was more towards that was just to remind me to talk about that game. Was it called again the day before?
The day before.
Yeah, so the day before is this game that has been teased a couple times. It's basically like another zombie apocalypse kind of Days Gone-esque type game, but more of a like a Division version of that, right? And the game was supposed to come out on Steam in like the next month or two. So the developers now delay it because of reasons, whatever it might be. But people are now thinking, because of all this evidence that's piled up, that the game doesn't even exist, or if the game does exist, it's just like plagiarism essentially. Because
Right.
a lot of the marketing for this game has plagiarized a bunch of other games, and a couple of those being one of the latest Days Before trailers that came out is basically a shot-for-shot copy of Call of Duty Warzone trailer.
Okay. Small game.
A bunch of screenshots from the Days Before are shot-for-shot, frame-for-frame copies of other random games. One of them being SnowRunner, another one being like the Division. Like they're exactly the same. Like someone is plagiarizing these other games and making it look like it's its own thing when it's not. So I have a feeling this game is dead in the water as far as I'm concerned, and I kind of hope it does, because whatever company's behind this should be ashamed of themselves. 100%. They should be barred from making anything. They should have their licenses taken away, or whatever it takes. I genuinely hate any of that stuff.
Take the tires off.
Seriously, it's just that is the bottom of the barrel. That is, I hate anything that does that. So I kind of hope this whole thing fails and it just blows up in their face. I really do. I hope it's just a massive waste of money and time, and they just wasted all of it, just because some idiot at the company thought it'd be a good idea to plagiarize this other stuff, and thought nobody would notice. It's the internet, dude.
You can't underestimate
Someone's
going to
notice.
Yeah.
I hate that. That bugs me. So yeah, I thought I'd just bring that up and also even the front cover of the game is basically a rip off of The Last of Us. So
right, okay, fine.
it's just all a massive rip off. I think honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if they came out. It came to the release day and they were like, "Ha, fooled you." Would not surprise me if it was just a joke.
DOA.
Yes, DOA. That's a good way of putting it.
Next up, Jay, we have the
DEA.
big sort of event that happened since we've recorded Xbox's Developers Direct with
Yeah,
Bethesda
which was
as
actually
well.
kind of like light-hearted and fun, to be honest.
Yeah,
Kind of
well,
made you like feel a bit more relatable to the developers. Like there's a little bit less of a barrier between us and them. Kind
sure,
of.
sure. I wanted to get so before we dive into the details, Jay, of each game and what we think, I just want to get your overall view of the Direct itself, first of all.
I think the games that were involved, I'm not too fussed about, but I think the way they went about presenting it was more of what was actually good about it. So I think as long as they did this with games I give a shit about, I'd be like, that was cool. But I watched the whole thing and I was like, that was a waste of time. And then Redfall came out, I was like, oh, thank God, a game I actually care about.
Sure.
So I kind of wish I hadn't watched the first 40 minutes of it because it was just a waste of time, to be honest. But yeah, the way they went about it was cool. I think if they do that style again, it'll definitely more than likely be received well. Although they've had interviews with Phil being like, yeah, they're probably not going to shadow drop anything anytime soon. So that was like a one-off.
Sure.
It's probably not going to happen again. Although for some reason it now made this game being one of the best-selling games for Xbox, like in recent memory. So
Yeah, I
it's kind of
saw
insane.
that.
I think it's actually one of Xbox's best reviewed exclusives as well. It's up there in like the high 80s, early 90s. So
I was surprised about the units sold there because if I may be so bold as to say, I'm surprised who's playing this game, who's buying this game.
I don't know. It's a great question,
Apparently,
but
it may have had a
it's
better
being
overall
received very
launch
very
week than
well.
Forspoken, which is
Oh, 100%.
crazy.
I think that people were because it was came out on Steam as well. It wasn't just Xbox. People were doing like comparisons between Forspoken and Hi-Fi Rush, and how I think Hi-Fi Rush. I think I'm trying to remember what the exact numbers were. I think Forspoken sales in the first week were less than what Hi-Fi Rush was in the first 24 hours, something like that. And one game had been marketed for about 2 years, and one game hadn't been marketed at all. So it was kind of telling more than anything else, you know. I think Xbox are on a bit of a roll here, and hopefully they don't lose that momentum.
Yeah, so
They're trying new things and it's working. So eventually it might fail, but we don't know until it happens. But I'm
interesting.
kind of liking this renaissance at this point.
Well, it's one game,
Yeah,
right?
so far.
So far, it's
But
one game.
I think it's we're looking at like 2023 as like a Xbox Game Pass whole. The trajectory looks on the up, you know, like exclusives wise.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Trajectory for Xbox looks up, whereas for PlayStation it looks,
Middle.
you know,
Yeah.
middle. It's like sustained, I guess.
Yeah, sure. Although that was the other thing I was going to say, Jay, earlier. PS Plus is quietly getting a lot of key grabs which were on Game Pass, and it's building.
So this is the other argument that people are having right now is that PS Plus had like these 20 exclusive games that were just on PS Plus, and now they're scrapping the whole thing. They're getting rid of it.
Yeah, they had the PS Plus
Because
collection, but that's being removed in May. Yeah.
because the main reason why it's being removed is because a couple of those games were being not allowed on there anymore. Like the companies who were obviously involved with it were like, yeah, we just want to take it off now. It's not really doing very well.
Sure.
So PlayStation were like, well, we can't say that there's 20 games anymore because there's actually only 17 or 16. So they just rather than changing the number, they just scrapped the whole thing.
Well, to be fair, they've been on there for some time now. What, a couple of years, 3 years since like the PS5 came out. So yeah, fair enough. And if you download them before they get rid of them, you can still have access. So anyone who's listening who hasn't done that, maybe try downloading them too. But I was just going to say that PS Plus, the subscription program, is building its collection quietly and slowly. For instance, it's got all the Kingdom Hearts on there, which were on Game Pass. It's got Dragon Age 11, which was on Game Pass. It's slowly building quite a little repertoire on there. So keep an eye on that one, because I think before we know it, I think it's easy to praise Game Pass, obviously, but I think before you know it, you might be looking at PS Plus going like, actually, it's got quite a lot on it. So what I want to say, Jay, on the Developer Direct, I think I might be the only human being who didn't enjoy it.
I didn't enjoy it, no.
And let me be very clear about this. obviously I love hearing from the people what they like about the game they're making, and I like seeing people who make anything. It's cool, it's great. More of that, sure, absolutely. What I don't like personally is the filter, because they are reading off a script. Now, do I know how much of that script is written with Microsoft by Microsoft? No, I don't. But my personal opinion, I would still prefer the PlayStation avenue, which is show me a cinematic trailer, show me a gameplay trailer, show me a release date. For me, that still works the best, in my opinion. I can appreciate if you want that human touch. I think it's cool. But like you say, Jay, 40 minutes in, this whole presentation, just for me, none of these games bother me at all. I have no intention of playing any of these games whatsoever, unless you and Will are like, yeah, I want to play Redfall. Okay, fine. None of these games speak to me. And frankly, okay, here's the problem, Jay. I don't know what Minecraft Legends is still. I don't know what Redfall is still.
Okay.
And I've seen... How many times have we seen Redfall? I don't know what the fuck that game that is.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is.
It's a little difficult to get exactly what it is. Like, because even I watched the IGN... The thing I actually preferred about that whole show was actually the IGN commentary after the fact. I watched the whole IGN commentary and it was delightful. Like, hearing their opinions on stuff and explaining what they did and didn't like about it was like, oh, that makes so much sense. Like, they basically explained what my inner monologue was, but I couldn't quite put it into words. Like,
Sure.
they just, that's funny. Like, they even said themselves, they were like, yeah, we didn't really care about any of that apart from Redfall. They were like, I don't really care. They said the same thing, and I was like, oh, thank God, because they think the same as me in that way.
That's really refreshing to hear, actually.
They literally spoke about Redfall for like 20 minutes, and I was like, oh, thank God for that, because that's all I cared about.
That's good to hear. If it might have been the podcast Unlocked Crew, which is their Xbox podcast. Yeah, that's really refreshing to hear, because a lot of the podcasts I listen to, they've all been absolutely loving the presentation, and I was thinking, no way are we on the same page here.
Yeah, no, they thought the same as us. I think pretty much.
Interesting. I mean, maybe I'll go listen to that episode, but yeah, none of it spoke to me, and I think it doesn't do a good job because I still don't know what some of those games are, and that's the whole point of the direct. Surely, is to the point of the direct is to convince me to buy it. But yeah,
I think the direct itself. I think the actual they showed off a lot of gameplay. They showed off all the release dates for all those games. I'm pretty sure.
Apart from Forza,
sure. Which was exactly what you just now asked for. So technically, they did show off those things. I think the reason why it didn't feel that substantial to us is because we don't actually give a shit about any of those games. Like, I think this is more. I don't necessarily because there has only been one, and we don't know whether or not the style is going to be just for smaller things or if it's going to be like for a mixture. I don't think we should have hopes for seeing anything too much of an announcement on these developer direct things. I think they're more for like they're more to keep people tied over, right? They're sort of there to be like, hang on, things are still coming, just wait for it, rather than they're just being silent. I think it literally is just a filler episode of like trying to keep us hype kind of thing. I don't think it's actually meant for anything else but that. I don't think it's supposed to show off anything new or anything special. I think it's literally just supposed to be like, here's what's coming. Make sure you save your money and the date for it, kind of thing. I think that's literally all it is. So if we ever get anything more than that in the future, then people are going to expect that every time. I think they want to keep expectations as low as possible, because the higher the expectations, the more people are going to get annoyed about it online, and they're going to complain, and then they don't want people to complain about it. Basically, they want to keep them sweet. So I think they've done a good job of keeping people sweet. Basically, I think they've succeeded in their goal, and I think as far as they're concerned, it was probably the best success they could have had. Yeah, couldn't have gone any better for them, I don't think.
Well said. Said. Do you want to move on to the next news story, Jay, or do you want to go through
for it?
Yeah. Report by Bloomberg gives some indication and some light into what's going on at 343, Jay. So there has been some layoffs, at least 95 staff. I'm not sure how much you've been keeping up with this 343 goings on.
I keep up with it, yeah.
Well, basically, reports are Bonnie Ross has been fired, a few other heads have left. Okay. Then, oh goodness me, I can't remember his name. One sec, guys.
I think it's exactly the same for a couple other companies as well. A couple of people from BioWare have left. A couple of people from EA have left.
That's true. That's
Like
true.
higher up, people who've been there like 20 years, they're all just like leaving now. It's like, oh, this makes
Joseph
sense.
Staten has left, which is a real shame because he was creative director for the single player experiences for Halo Infinite. And I think a lot of people will agree, myself will hold, that the Infinite campaign has a lot of great things about it. And now it's got co-op too. And I think a lot of us were hoping for some single player DLC, especially because it ends on a cliffhanger. And unfortunately, we're not going to get that now. And it's a real shame, Jay. It's a shame for a few reasons. Obviously, people have lost their jobs. But also from a selfish gamer perspective, Halo's now being moved to Unreal Engine after they spent 2 years developing their very own Slipspace engine. So now I'm thinking,
Oh God.
what the actual hell is going on, guys? Microsoft, it's not like this is the first strike. You let them have Halo for like let's get this right. Let's get this right. 2012 Halo 4 came out, I believe, which is 2 years after Halo Reach, if I'm not
That
mistaken.
was so long ago. My God, I thought it was wasted. I thought
Over
it was
10
2015.
years. And you're only taking action now? Maybe you've taken action before. I don't know
Yeah,
about
they're a bit
that.
slow, aren't they? I think
Jay, what the
that's
hell's
kind of what it
going
feels
on?
like.
Wait, we're going to redo Halo. You've been redoing Halo for 10 years. We told you what worked. We told you what worked. How about a multiplayer where you get XP for the amount of kills? Oh, oh my God. Oh my God, that
Yeah.
sounds amazing. How about a single player
Talk about an
DLC?
original idea.
How about single player DLC for a single player campaign that everyone wants DLC for? Oh my God. Oh my God. How about regular updates for a game where everyone's asking for regular updates?
Yeah. It's funny they hear this feedback and they're just not taking any of it, are they? They've taken the zero of. They're gone. Well, you don't really know what you're talking about. Well, let us take it. That's exactly what their inner monologue is basically to us. That's all we hear is, you don't know what you're talking about. You're not in the industry. Why would you know? And then yeah, give it 10 years later, they failed massively, and we're all like, told you,
Literally. From
morons.
from your perspective, Jay, you must I assume you must just be thinking like, yep,
Yeah, I
it
was
died a
right.
long time ago. Yeah.
It did. Halo, as far as I'm concerned, they keep bringing it up. I know Phil keeps bringing it up, being like Halo is like one of the cornerstones and of Microsoft, and Halo is when Halo dies, Microsoft will die, and it's kind of like, well, you shouldn't be saying that because it's sooner than you think. As far as I'm concerned, they should just let go of Halo. I think it should be gone. I think there's no reviving it at this point. I think if they're ever going to revive it, give it 10 years, come back with a fresh
Sure.
perspective.
Sure.
I think the same thing should go with like Star Wars, like in certain areas,
Of
or
course.
even like Gears or Dragon Age. Like come back to it in like 5, 10 years with a fresh perspective. Like we don't
Dude,
need all this
can you
old crap.
can you imagine if in Xbox One gen they were just like, right, no more Gears. So the last Gears we had was Gears 3, and then this
Oh
year
my
we get
god,
the
it
chainsaw
would have been
sound. Can
so
you imagine
nice.
that?
Yeah, had the comeback, the hype around the comeback would have been insane. People would have been going crazy, like, "Oh my god, it's finally coming back. We're finally getting one." And then the thing is, had it been shit, it would have been hilarious.
Oh yeah, true.
But
True.
oh,
Yeah.
it just blows my mind. Like they just not leaving. They're not letting people miss things. They're constantly giving us all things that we say we want, but like way too soon. Like let us simmer in it for a bit, you know.
Yeah, of course. I agree, Jay.
Let us want to miss it.
I agree.
Too much of a good thing.
I think a lot of popular culture is too much for a good thing at the moment, actually.
Yeah, we're just immersed in way too much. It's like just let us breathe for a minute. Open the wine bottle and just let it breathe.
Agreed.
Oh,
Agreed. I think that's what makes some games so special in terms of, I
yeah, the
think of,
time in between releases.
yeah,
Which given there was a lot of time between Halo releases, but they just failed when they just landed flat. Like didn't do a good enough job.
agreed.
Like if I was Phil, I'd feel guilty and saddened by Halo at this point. I'd feel
100%.
so like defeated. Like Halo is supposed to be the mascot and beacon of Microsoft at this point, but if anything, it just feels like a stain, like a massive smear on Microsoft. So I look at Halo and go, that's not very good, is it? Whereas people should be looking at Halo and going, "Oh, the classic." But to me, it doesn't even feel much of a classic anymore. It just feels like beating a dead horse. That's kind of what it feels like. Much like a lot of these, Fortnite clones or zombie games that keep coming out, just beating a dead horse. You know, it's a bit of a shame, really, more than anything else.
Agreed.
But I might eat my words. We don't know if they come up with something good. Then sure.
Too late for that, Jay. It's too late for that.
Yeah, it does feel like it.
Couple more stories, and then we're all wrapped up on the news. Something I want to bring up, Jay, because I thought it was an incredible story / fact. Detroit Become Human, developed by Quantic Dream, has sold 8 million units.
That's not as many as I thought.
Jay, are you out of your mind?
That is a lot, but
that's like half as many as Spider-Man. And Spider-Man sold a lot. That's nearly as many as Ghost of Tsushima. That's a lot of copies.
Oh, I guess so. I'm surprised, actually.
I just want to try and provide some context here.
Yeah.
Oh, God. So, when you Google something, you just think, can you just tell me the answer, please? Gears 4 sold 3 million copies.
Oh,
okay.
Wow.
Now, I know this is a one I keep bringing up. Okay, because I know it's not that many. Bloodborne has sold 2 million copies.
Mm-hmm.
But let's be honest, the copies they have sold impacts a lot of people. So Detroit has 8 million copies sold. That's a lot of copies.
Yeah, that is a lot thinking about it, I guess, yeah.
Spider-Man... Oh, sorry, I take that back, Jay. I take that back. Oh, no. No. Spider-Man and Miles Morales have sold combined 33 million, which is a lot. But all my point is, this sold more than I thought it would. I wouldn't even think it sold 2 million copies. That's all.
Yeah, I would have guessed somewhere over 1 mil. It's funny, It Takes Two reached 10 million units the other day, didn't it?
How many, sorry?
10 million, It Takes Two.
You're joking.
Nope. I mean, it was Game of the Year.
True. To be honest, Jay, I think this might be a symptom of, as I bring up every week or every 2 weeks, people just wanting really good games. Like, I think they're just selling well because people want them. Would you want to play Hyperscape or Rumbleverse or Detroit Become Human? You know what I mean? If you're a nerd like us.
Yeah.
Anyway, last up, Jay. Don't know if you heard about this, but Microsoft is removing classic Xbox 360 games from sale as soon as next week.
I'm a bit confused about this because apparently it was an error.
Oh.
Yeah, there was something on there where they weren't quite sure whether or not it was actually real or not.
I think it is real.
Hard to say.
It looks as though the only reason they're doing this is because they want the versions to become permanent on Xbox One and Xbox Series S. So it looks like they're almost moving them. Well, they have been moved. It looks like they're just going to keep them on the new store and remove them from the old store. But what's interesting about this, Jay, is there's some pretty high-profile games on this list, like Assassin's Creed, Call of Duty, Dark Souls, Counter-Strike, Far Cry, Left 4 Dead, Mass Effect. There's quite big games on here.
Okay.
So yeah, no idea on the reasons for that. Maybe they're starting to shut down the 360 store period, perhaps, and they're testing the waters. I don't know. Any thoughts?
I mean, yeah, out with the old, in with the new, I guess.
Very good.
At this point, it's needed. Need to stay up to date with the new console.
Agreed. All right, Jay. I would like to tell you what I've been playing, if that's cool.
Please do. I'm interested.
Okay. So just a quick update on the Call of Duty front, Jay.
Oh, yeah.
So,
okay.
Finished COD 4 Remastered on Veteran. I can't remember if I said this, but missions that gave me a pain in the bum, Mile High Club is the hardest Veteran mission by a mile.
It is.
I think we talked about that before.
Yeah, I think we did.
Modern Warfare 2 Remastered, Veteran completed. World at War Veteran completed. Black Ops 1 Veteran completed. Black Ops 2 Veteran completed. Modern Warfare 3 veteran completed, but I did that before.
Jesus. So
Now,
many. I'd feel so like knocked out after having done all that.
yeah, to be fair, bro, you know though, like because they're short-ish campaigns, as soon as I finish that, I'll just be like, yeah, I'm ready for more. You know what I mean?
Wow. Okay. I remember being like really like knocked out after just doing one before.
Well, you remember when you played through all of Assassin's Creed games and the Final Fantasy games?
You had one of those moments, yeah. Yeah, just some reason you've got this this sort of like surge of energy to be able to knock them all out one after the other.
Literally, Jay. As I say, I don't know what's going on, but like, I just want to play difficult games. I don't know what's going on.
Would you say it all feels like a bit of a blur? Because looking back on those Final Fantasy and Assassin's Creed moments, I'm kind of like, it's all a bit of a blur at the minute. It's like, I remember it happening, but I don't remember exactly what happened.
I think in the same way, to be fair to you, the same way that when you watch a TV show, like you don't remember season by like if you watch a TV show all in one go, right? I find the seasons blur together. Whereas if I wait, I know what you're saying. Sometimes you can differentiate. Whereas if you watch it as it comes out, it's probably a bit easier to differentiate, isn't it?
I understand what you mean. Yeah. I understand what you mean.
Also, I can't remember if I brought this up. I think I did, but I tried Medal of Honor Airborne, and those controls are messed up. Don't try and play that game.
You spoke to me about it, but we didn't talk about it on the podcast.
Yeah, I tried it just because I remember liking the game, and the game. By the way, the graphics were really good at the time, and they hold up okay. And the fact that you can drop anywhere is really cool too. But the way the game controls is messed up, bro. Like when you aim in, you use the left stick to lean up, left, right, and down.
Yeah, that was awful.
It's no point. Good.
They just try to be different for different sake.
It's not good.
Not a great idea.
Also, what to bring up the fact that I have tried Vampire Survivors.
Oh yeah.
Which we've obviously spoken about quite a lot. I see you played it recently as well, Jay.
Yeah, I played it for about 5 minutes or so, just to sort of have a game.
It's good fun. I can see why people like it.
There's a lot more involved than you think as well. There's actually like a story and technically there's a campaign, but it's just a bit like Hades actually. Unless you actually research it, you would never know.
Really?
Yeah, each level has like a mission that you have to complete to be able to get to the next mission. With different maps. You have to kill a boss in a certain way or something.
Oh.
But the game doesn't tell you to do it. You just have to figure it out. It's like playing Zelda. You just got to figure it out.
Jay, do you think the developers knew when they were developing it, like, yeah, this is going to be a sleeper hit?
To a degree, they probably thought it, yeah. I mean, you kind of have to. Whenever you make a game, you think, I really hope this does well.
Sure.
You don't make a game and go, that's probably not going to do that well.
Also,
probably do to an extent, but it just depends. Yeah.
Me and Will did try Destroy Humans, Clone Carnage. I'm not sure if you remember this, Jay, but this was the free-to-play multiplayer spin-off for Destroy Humans.
Didn't know it existed.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it is dead now, but the servers are still live, but there's nobody on it. But if me and Elle had it on the same console, we'd probably play it for a weekend and have a good time, And also, the achievements are really easy, so there you go.
Bonus, yeah.
But a fair play to them for trying it out, I think. But, would I rather get more Destroy Humans single player? Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
but
Destroy Humans, they definitely shouldn't have made the multiplayer thing.
Maybe it was really easy to do.
There's no audience for it, there really isn't.
Yeah, I hear you.
Like,
cool,
if you went to a Gen Z gamer right now and said, what is Destroy Humans? They'd probably be like, what? They wouldn't have a clue what that game was.
Sure.
Only people who are our age would know what it is.
Sure.
Nobody knows what that game is. Nobody cares. As far as I'm concerned, Gen Z kids probably see Destroy Humans like we see, is it Grab 'em by the Ghoulies? Remember that game?
Yeah, I remember that.
Like that's the kind of comparison I can make.
Sure.
It's about the same. Like, you don't really know what the game is, but you know it existed once.
I get you.
Yeah, it's like, who cares? Nobody cares about Destroy Humans anymore.
I think I had that game on demo disc, Grabbed by the Ghoulies.
Yeah, I played it. Yeah, it's fun.
Also, we've been playing a very special game, Jay.
Yeah, special in a sense, yeah.
Anthem.
The special game.
So before everyone jumps down our throats for playing this, I've always wanted to try it out. Jay likes the game. So we thought
I played it when it first came out. I played it for about 2 weeks straight. I really enjoyed it. I thought it had a lot of potential, but it died too quick. People just didn't give it, much of a chance.
So I'm trying it out with Jay, and obviously I'm going in with tempered expectations because of everything that everyone said. But I genuinely believe, one, the mechanics are awesome. I'm having a lot of fun. Two, I think the world building's great. There is a lot of lore dumps, granted, but for me, it feels like how I wanted Destiny to feel when Destiny came out, Destiny 1.
Yeah.
Like big open spaces, you're flying a suit, you got it. Like, I just think it's great in that sense. Great. Are there issues? Yeah.
Yes.
Do I care about any of the characters? No.
No.
Am I having fun? Yes. So we will continue to play it. We will continue.
Yeah, as long as you're having fun, well, it doesn't matter, does it?
Now, Jay, my two main games for this week. Okay. Number one, Resident Evil 5. So, as you know, this is a game, Jay. I've decided to play every game that I've been looking at, thinking, "Oh, I really, really want to play that," but I don't need to play that. But I do want to. I want the games I keep looking at on the shelf. I've just decided, right, I'm going to play these games and I'm going to do them, and that's that. Resident Evil 5 is one of those games. Never played it in co-op, never finished it. Always kind of fancy doing it in co-op. So it was on sale. I was in the party with Will, and we were just like, right, we're getting it. It's like £4. So we got it. We played it on Veteran. Finished it 3 days ago. Had a blast.
Love it.
The voice acting is terrible.
Yes.
It's so bad. The story is ridiculous. And the costumes for the female characters are also ridiculous.
Yes. I remember you talking about it.
But we had a blast. It is what it is. I'm glad we did it. We're mopping up some stuff now in terms of some Chivos. We might do professional run through, because after you finish the game and you've got a fully upgraded weapon, you can get infinite ammo, but it doesn't stop achievements. So you can just have infinite ammo guns. So it make it a lot easier, basically.
Yeah.
So we might do professional run through after we've upgraded a few more stuff. But yeah, had a good time. Again, conquered something I've never done before, Jay. This is the first Resident Evil game I've ever finished. Ever. Period.
That is good. That's a good start.
So, Resident Evil, here I come. But yeah, that's... and it was on Veteran too. So a few bits that we got really stuck on. The first bit, literally the first ever bit, you basically have to survive, but we thought you had to kill them all. So, the strat was all wrong. So that took a while. Then we also got stuck on a couple of bosses, at which point we just bought RPGs and just did them out. The last thing was the last boss, which I've already told you about, Jay. Basically, Will had to press the X button like a mofo. And I was like, press it quick. And he's like, I'm pressing it quick. And basically, he literally just had to sit there with it on the table with two fingers just going really quick. But we did it. It was good fun. Glad.
I feel like Resident Evil 5 is the co-op Resident Evil.
100%.
Whereas every other Resident Evil is just single player, whatever. Yeah.
I think that's probably what's given it its legacy, though. To be
100%.
fair.
Anytime I've ever heard anyone speak about how good it is, it's because they played it with someone.
Right.
They didn't talk about how they liked it when they played it on their own. They always talk about how it's so great to play it with someone. So okay, makes sense.
100%.
Definitely has that legacy for it. I don't know if they'll ever make another Resident Evil that's co-op in mind.
No, because I guess if not, they would just make what they made was that Umbrella Corp game, right? With a multiplayer one. Sure. But yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe, hopefully one day, maybe they'll do a Resident Evil 5 and make it almost like a sort of custom co-op game. You can play it in single player, but we've actually made this for co-op. That'd be cool. Agreed. Maybe Resident Evil 9 will be it. I don't know.
9 or 10, yeah, maybe. We'll see. They've still got to finish the trilogy of 7, 8, and 9.
Yeah, sure. And the last game, Jay, The Force Unleashed. Star Wars: The Force Unleashed. So for those Gen Zers out there, this was one of the better Star Wars games that we played in our youth. Me and Jay vivid memory following this on the Games Master magazine for years.
I picture it in my head what the front cover looked like. Yeah.
And this is a game that I think Jay probably spoke to me about and was excited for before me, in terms of just, set between 3 and 4, Darth Vader has an apprentice, you're hunting down Jedi. That is the coolest premise ever.
Yeah, playing as a Sith, that's what you want to do. You don't want to play as a Jedi.
Jedi. So here's a backstory and context to this, Jay. So I can't really say names here. Do you remember Tom from high school?
Yes, we were talking about that one, maybe. Yeah.
The one in our tutor group.
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, although this is strange, his uncle plays or played video games, and he had done the game in Sith Master difficulty. Okay. And so I remember playing like the first couple of missions and just completing them. Not even the second one, the first one, only just being able to complete it. And I could never, ever do it. Not even on Sith Lord difficulties. There's 4 difficulties. It's something like Apprentice, Sith Warrior, Sith Lord, Sith Master. Okay. You only unlock Sith Master after you finish the game. So I run through the game as fast as I can, and then I do Sith Master. And you have to do this from a blank slate, so you can't do New Game Plus either. Yeah. So anyway, I was scrolling through my games. The game's on the shelf. Right. I'm fucking doing it. I am doing it. I can do it. I can 100% do it. So I did it. And it was really tough on some areas. Really fucking hard.
Yeah, I'd imagine so, yeah.
But you also have to sort of follow a holocron guide, because the more holocrons you get, which are the collectibles, the more power-ups you get. So it's inevitably easier, right?
Okay.
And you can also technically grind. So you've also got mission select. So if you finish the first mission and you're on the second mission, you can mission select the first mission and level up and just keep getting holocrons to power up with, technically. But it will take you a long time, because obviously there's more enemies that come up that are more XP later on, blah, blah, blah. So you're best off killing enemies and getting holocrons, in my humble opinion. There are some areas which are just not worth the hassle, and you just skip through. Like 100% not worth the hassle. The bosses, you find how you can fight them, Jedis, whatever they are, Darth Vader. You find what's their weak point, how can I get them, just focus on that. But yeah, difficult, but I'm really, really glad I did it. It's one of those things where I feel like, way off the shoulder.
So what, you've just completed it on that difficulty? Did you try to get all the achievements, or was that not the priority?
Good shout, Jay, good shout. So yeah, I did also mop up the other achievements I needed to, which was basically things like kill 500 enemies with lightsaber throw. So a little bit tedious.
Yeah.
But done. Finished them and finished it on Sith Master. So technically, I have 100%ed all of the original games 1000G, technically, which I'm really happy about. The only thing is there's 3 DLCs for the game. I have Jedi Temple 1, which I've done on Sith Master already. Nice one, old Nick. The other 2, I've never... I think I might have played the Hoth one round my mates, but I've never bought them. So I've wishlisted them, so if they go on sale, I'll get them with my Microsoft points, probably.
I'm sure
with
they
my
will
reward.
eventually.
Yeah. Hopefully. And then I will get them. I did also try Force Unleashed 2, Jay. I did do the Endor DLC on that very quickly without dying on Apprentice, because I hadn't got that achievement. But the game itself, Jay, much worse than Force Unleashed 1. Much worse.
Yeah, okay.
Looks worse, feels worse. Not trying to fly shade.
I guess, would there have been less of a budget on the second one?
I think it was made by different people.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that
perhaps. So yeah,
there's
the background to that. Yeah. But also Force Unleashed 2, Jay, I borrowed again off a mate, and apparently finished everything in that game in terms of like odd achievements as well, and the DLC in like a day, apparently. I remember the day, but I didn't think it was one day. And also, another quick shout out, the Endor DLC was literally £2, and I think I already said to you, every old DLC should be £2, because then I'm buying it. Or less.
Like 99p.
Nobody's buying Call of Duty Black Ops Map Pack 4 at 15 quid, I can assure you.
Jesus Christ. No, that's a rip-off, that, isn't it?
So, yeah. So,
Not a good idea.
super happy, Jay, that I'm continuing this weird difficulty phase I'm going through. But
Yeah, you're having a bit of a gamer moment, a gamer something, because we've both been
there's
through it over the
something.
last like 4 or 5 years. I had it with AC
Final Fantasy?
and Final Fantasy,
Yeah.
and you had it, I guess, with the same thing with Final Fantasy, and then also Dark Souls and Call of Duty as well.
Yeah. Weird.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
I like it. We're evolving
I think so.
as gamers.
And as I'll say before, Jay, technically speaking, we've never been better because, or at least I haven't
Yeah,
been because I
technically,
never got these achievements before. So
It's funny. Like, would you say you are infinitely better at like FPSs now because of Call of Duty?
do you mean after the recent spurt I had?
Yeah, and same with Dark Souls. Would you say you're now like, let's say a new Dark Souls game or a new Call of Duty came out? Would you be like, oh, I'd be able to do very well at those because you now know that what it takes to be good at them?
In a
Like,
way,
do you feel like you flexed that muscle enough now where you wouldn't need to have to re-up the muscle to get back into it?
yes, I think so. Yeah,
Whereas before, you didn't really have the muscle to speak of, so you probably would have never even attempted to get a new Dark Souls or a new Call of Duty game.
correct.
Okay, I think that in itself is the achievement, like the life achievement of kind of like, I'm now able to do that. Like, whereas before, you just basically opened up your options for what is available to you.
I
And I
guess.
feel like I've had that a lot longer than you, but
Yeah, totally.
but now that you've got it, better late than never.
What's interesting, asking you about games and what games you want to finish on high difficulties and stuff, Jay, is let's take Maximilian for instance. I now understand why he would do something like, fight Sephiroth in Kingdom Hearts 2 with a minimum level character. In terms of like, I wouldn't want to do that, but I know that he's probably looking for a challenge where he feels challenged, right?
Yeah, because he's pretty good at games. Yeah,
Really good at games. So
I think it's more that he's just been around long enough to play them. So like, he's just gotten good by time.
Sure.
Versus like, it's a good mixture of time and skill.
Sure.
Like, the skill came along with the time.
But for you, is it just a game by game basis in terms of,
I think so.
I want to invest the time, or
yeah, if the game excites me enough, I'll want to put more time into it and want to get more of a challenge out of it. Where if the game is just like, it's almost like that fast food analogy I made before, where some games feel like a meal, other games just feel more like fast food. You just sort of in and out versus, I want to savor the flavor. So whatever appeals more to you at the time.
What about a game like Spider-Man or Ghost of Tsushima? In terms of, let's say there was a difficulty achievement there in the core trophy list. Obviously, we don't want that, but if there was, there was, how would you feel about that? Would you be,
Yeah, I'm more likely to want to get it.
Okay.
Because that I enjoy those games more. But if there was a difficulty setting in, oh god, what game do I not like as much recently?
Need for Speed? Oh.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do it in Need for Speed. That would just be horrible. I wouldn't want to go through that more than once. Like, once is enough,
Yeah, sure. Oh, I was thinking more like if your initial playthrough was on hard sort of thing.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I wouldn't ever do an initial playthrough on hard for anything, I don't think.
Interesting. Okay.
Doesn't matter how much I like the game. I'm only ever going to play it on a difficulty that I enjoy. I don't want to be frustrated the first time I play it.
Interesting. Yeah, but
that just leaves me feeling awful about the game. I don't want that.
But surely you will get frustrated at the likes of Elden Ring.
Yeah, but that's built in.
Sure.
Like, there's one difficulty.
Sure.
I don't necessarily get frustrated. I'm more like, oh, I now need to improve. There's a moment where you're like, okay, I'm clearly not using the mechanics to the best of my ability or the best of the ability that I should be. So I now need to practice those my skills and just get better.
But surely,
it basically just makes you get good.
Sure, but surely you could argue that other games would do that too on a higher difficulty.
Yeah, but there's options. If they just said, and there's one difficulty and it's as hard or as easy as it's going to get, it then forces you to have to get good at the game.
Sure.
Versus a game that gives you the option of difficulty, the game doesn't want you to get good necessarily. It just wants you to play it. It wants you to spend money most of the time. Usually those games have some sort of monetization.
Sure.
Just wants you to spend money. That's what it just wants you to play the game, buy the game and play it. It doesn't care whether or not you actually get good at it or not.
Sure.
But I think it's the difference between a developer that gives a shit versus one that maybe gives less of one. Like Miyazaki gives more of a shit of you, understanding his games versus just buying them and playing them. He's like, he doesn't care about whether or not you just buy it to play it. He wants you to actually have fun and be good at it.
Yeah, I get you. All right, Jay. Well, that's it for this week. We've gone over quite a lot in quite a small period of time for us. One last quote for the week. Now, let me know if you know what game this is off, though I don't expect you to know necessarily.
Okay.
Justice, righteous, keep that shit to yourselves. Also, I don't know how it's said in the game. That's just me saying
I was going to say, yeah, the context and the inference might be different. It sounds familiar, but I couldn't tell you what it's from.
Persona 5, apparently.
Okay, so say it again. Justice.
Righteous, keep that shit to yourselves.
Try to remember exactly what bit that was.
Haven't got a clue.
Yeah.
Some guy called Black. Is there a character called Black in it?
No.
Nah, I haven't got a clue.
That's very random, but all right.
Any other?
I was going to say, it might be different because Persona 5 Royale
is different to...
Royal is somewhat different in some instances, so maybe, I don't know.
Any other closing thoughts, Jay, before we head off for this week?
Just that I'm excited for the future of gaming, and this year is looking to be one of my favourites in recent memory. So, lots to look forward to.
What I'm excited about, Jay, is that you are moving forward. You've got all these great games to look forward to, and I'm looking
constantly
forward
looking back.
Literally, all I'm doing is fucking old
all
games.
All you give a shit about is what haven't I played that I still need to. Whereas me, I'm like, I can't wait for the next thing.
I know.
That is quite funny. That's a good duality we have going on,
And don't get me wrong. Obviously, I'm looking forward to Star Wars too. But you're much more likely to play these games on day one than I am. So it's a very exciting duality, as you say.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's a very exciting year.
Oh yeah, I can't bloody wait.
It's awesome. All right. Well, thanks for listening, everyone. Have a great week or weekend, whenever the hell this publishes, and we will catch you next time.